Hey traders, welcome back to the FX YouTube channel. So the EU buys didn't play out. Instead, price has been pushing down all week. But we've reached some significant levels now, and we need to watch the price closely for any potential reversals. For today's video, I'll do a quick market review and then give some trading ideas for today. But first, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. Okay, starting with the fundamentals, there'll be some employment change data for the euro today, then jobless claims during AM session. And then if we look at the yields, you can see the yields are all coming down quite significantly now. 5-year has broken the sell side liquidity and has come into discount levels now. And 10-year has completely filled the lower daily fair value gap and also in discount and approaching the sell side liquidity now. The 30-year has caught up quite a bit now, so it's also filled the lower daily fair value gap and also reaching for that sell side liquidity, and it is also in discount now. And because the range is quite a bit smaller on the 30-year compared to the 10-year and the 5-year, it's actually the closest to reaching OTE now. 5-year, on the other hand, has the biggest range, and because of that, it's just barely in discount. Anyways, what I want to say about the yields is, we're seeing some odd behavior right now. DXY generally lags compared to the yields, but in this case, we've been seeing for days now yields continuing to push down, while for days now DXY has been continuing to push up. So not really what I'm used to and accustomed to seeing, but we'll see in the coming days if the yields continue to come down and DXY follows or not, or if we continue to see this decorrelation between the yields and the DXY moving forward. Okay, moving on to DXY. So I'm going to start with the weekly time frame. I normally don't do that on a daily video, but there have been some significant candles printed. So you can see we've had a really strong bullish candle so far this week. DXY just tapped into the weekly fair value gap. So for me, it's a moment of truth. Will DXY reverse from here, or will DXY continue through the weekly fair value gap? Now, if we go on the daily time frame, so daily time frame, not really so much to show. It's been bullish all week. Started the week with a retest of the daily fair value gap, and then after that just been pushing up. No inefficiencies on the daily time frame have been created on the way up. And then if we go on the 4-hour time frame, so I haven't really liked the movement of DXY so much this week. It's doing a lot of manipulation before every move, but you can see how DXY has come back into the fair value gaps and retested them generally multiple times before continuing to the upside. But generally they were respected except for the last one. So the last fair value gap that was created, it was respected. To be honest, it was respected. The bodies didn't go below the fair value gap, but it did wick through multiple times. One other thing is you'll see it's quite corrective. So DXY has been quite corrective with pushes to the upside, then really big pullbacks, then another push to the upside, breaking the previous high, and then another significant pullback all the way up. So now the question is, will we see a reaction from here, or will DXY just continue to the moon? This is, for me, is the most logical level. Not necessarily right here. I could see potentially a manipulation and then a reaction to drive the price down. If we go to the hourly time frame, So on the hourly time frame, not really so much to add. For now, I'm just going to assume it will continue higher. But if I see a manipulation followed by a massive reaction, then I may start looking for longs on EU and target the previous range low, so right here. But if you look, there aren't really any PD arrays that were created on the way up except for a tiny one at the very top. So if it does start to come down, my expectation is it'll probably go for these relatively equal lows right here. Now moving on to EU. So I'm going to start on the daily time frame on EU, and what you can see is EU nearly filled the weekly fair value gap. It's also come 50% of the monthly fair value gap, as well as the huge daily fair value gap. EU's also created a fair value gap on the way down. It would be a nice target if we get a pullback. And if it pulls back or reverses, the current area is really a nice area for it to happen. And if it does, I would target the daily fair value gap for price to pull back to. And if we go on the 4-hour time frame, so on the 4-hour time frame, we started the week with a with a retest of this hourly supply zone, and thereafter you can see it's just been pushing down ever since. Hasn't been that aggressive on the push down. Well, it has been aggressive to a certain extent, but all it's done is cleared the previous low and then pulled back, and then the aggressive push down just cleared the previous low and then pulled back, and then once again pushed down, cleared the previous low. And we'll see what happens now. Let's have a look at the hourly time frame. So on the hourly time frame, what we're typically seeing the entire week is we would start with a pullback, typically during Asia, and then we would see some consolidation. Then London would give confirmations, and then once we got that confirmation, we would have a massive pullback and then continuation during the New York session. And the continuation during New York session often came quite late. It was usually in the PM session. So on Tuesday, see the same thing. So after the break of structure at the end of the day on Monday, have a pullback, continuation during Asia, then the consolidation, confirmations during London, then a massive pullback to the extreme, and then some more confirmation during New York. But look what happened here. After we got further continuation to the downside during AM session, PM session had a massive manipulation, and thereafter continued further to the downside. Asia once again pulling back, London giving our confirmation, then a massive pullback. And then for New York, we had a further continuation and a second break, but then we had a massive manipulation, clearing the previous highs before continuing further to the downside. And for me at least, it's been quite a tough week to trade, because what would happen for me is I wasn't able to stay up past AM session, and I would wake up in the middle of the night, that would be like late PM session, and see that price came down significantly, and I would be so excited. But then I would go and check my MT5 and realize I'd been stopped out. So I'd taken some really small partials, but before my significant partials hit, I was stopped out. So that happened most of the week, and it was only last night that I was able to re-enter, because I woke up in the middle of the night around the beginning of PM session, and because of that I saw that massive pullback and was able to re-enter a trade to take it down. So last night was really the only day that I had a decent trade. The rest, there were like really small gains. I think we're talking about like 0.1 or 0.2% Monday and Tuesday, and then last night I actually had a decent gain. So just to summarize this price action that we're seeing, at least for me, for today's trading plan, I'm hoping we get a pullback during the Asia session, and if we do, I'll see if I can get into a long around Japan Open, which is actually 10 minutes from the current time of this recording. And if we do get a longing opportunity, I'll try to get into the pullback. And then for the pullback, I'll see what happens, see if we get a significant one, bigger push to the upside or not. And mainly just to see if we get a sweep of the highs. But like I said, even if we get a confirmation with the sweep of the highs, there isn't really much in terms of PD arrays. It may just be seeking the liquidity and then come right back down and create a lower low. And if it does, then I'll look for pullbacks and then continuations for sells. But anyways, that more or less sums up my update for today. Hopefully you guys found some value in today's video, and if you did, a like and a subscribe would be appreciated. Good luck trading today, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.
Black Swan.